is Harry from Life.
Hi, Harry from Life. Make it nice. He's going to do a layout on you guys. Clobber, you got the music.
Have I got the music?
A layout?
Have I got the music?
We are operating under a handicap. It won't be a typical weekend with the boys, if that's what you want.
Personally, I'd rather spend an hour with Bach and Beethoven.
You're too late. They already split up.
Have I got the music? Huh.
Hey, where you going, Clobber?
I forgot the music.
He's a good drummer.
Growing up and learning to play drums in the 60s and in the 70s, I listened to a lot of pop radio. And later, I learned that a lot of that stuff was Hal Blaine on drums. I had been emulating what Hal had been playing, everything I heard on the radio.
Hal Blaine was a very prominent teacher in my life, without me even realizing it, because I sat as a young drummer and played along to so many records that he was drumming on. I had no idea, trying to figure out these parts. So I learned so much about my craft from him.
I was making a very big record for John Mellencamp called Scarecrow. What John did, he came in with a box of LPs from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So I want you to listen to these songs, and I want you to learn what made these songs special. Hence, a lot of records had Hal Blaine on them.
Hal was actually one of my great influences because being a drummer and at a very young age being cognizant about session players, of course, everybody always talked about Hal Blaine. He was immortal.
You know, I started to do something, I said, oh, I remember that. That's something Hal played on. You know what I mean? You're not consciously necessarily aware of it, but it definitely it happened.
And you look at all these amazing songs, one after another, that were on the radio, that were hit songs that Hal Blaine played on, and you think, now that's the imprint that I got from him as a kid listening to those records.
And yet when, Hal Blaine were to have, such a pop and rock success and, changing the face of pop music, Hal set the bar so high that it gave me something to reach for.
That because Hal was the session great from like the late 50s into the 60s, all of sort of the modern pop music is based on the fills and grooves that he created.
The room had a spirit to it, with Hal being the leader, and all the guys working together and thumping and pumping,
A little less conversation, a little more action. All this aggravation ain't satisfaction in me. A little more bite, a little less spark. A little less fight, a little more spark. Close your mouth and open up your heart. Baby, satisfy me. Satisfy me, baby.
We're going up to Capitol Records right up here. God, the streets are so friggin' torn up, it's unbelievable. This is where we used to do all the, Glenn Campbell's records and Ray Anthony and everybody, man. Peggy Lee, Nat King Cole. We did everybody down in the bowels. Pretty amazing. As a child, I was probably 8, 9 years old when I was fooling around with drumsticks, which were not literally drumsticks, but they were the dowling, a couple of dowels out of a rocking chair that my mother had that I used to take the top off and pull these sticks out, and I was a drummer. And it was kind of silly, but we were all show-offs, drummers, and I guess you learn at an early age, maybe you need the attention more than others do. I was probably 11, 12, and 13 years old, something like that, 10, 11, 12. There was I think it was a St. Michael's church across the street from the synagogue, and they had a drum and bugle corps. And I used to go over there and hang out and look in the fence. Here I was a kid listening to these guys play, and they were just kids my age. And one day the priest invited me in. I told him I want to be a drummer. And he kind of put some drumsticks in my hand and a little snare drum. And that was kind of my first real playing. My sister Marcia, now deceased, bought me my first little set of drums, which consisted of a bass drum, a snare drum, and a cymbal. That was it. And I'll never forget, she paid $52 for it, and she was paying it off $1 a week for a year. When I got out of the Army, I took my GI Bill, went to Chicago, went to a percussion institute. I was going to school from about 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, and then I was playing strip clubs from about 8 at night to 4 in the morning, which was pretty well. But it was great sight reading training. So you got all these new women coming in dancing, throwing this music at you, and you had to read it immediately. You can throw any kind of music in front of me, and I will, it might be the hardest thing in the world, but I'll be completely relaxed to it, and nobody will know that inside I'm saying, holy cow, this is really something.